Brother Jack. You're watching Lights Out TV.
This is Lights Out. I'm FAISAL Khan. Welcome to our podcast, and this is the preview for next Saturday night's big fight in Los Angeles at the Staples Center for the WBC heavyweight title of the world. The champion Deontay Wilder defends against the challenger, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury. For me, it's arguably one of the biggest fights in the heavyweight division for a very, very long time. Joined by Asif and Ron, and that's what we're going to start with you today. How high do you rank this fight? Where is this fight in terms of, the big fights in the heavyweight division? And we've seen some fantastic ones over the last few years. We saw, the barn fest in Wembley between Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko. And if you rewind back the years, Lennox Lewis, the fights against Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. Where would you rank this fight?
I think it's up there. I don't think it's as big as them fights, simply put, because of the fact that it wasn't really spoken much about, before it was actually announced. There wasn't that much demand for it. There was a demand to see Tyson Fury come back and challenge for, what is rightly his world titles. But I think the fact that, there's a story behind Tyson Fury and what he's been through, I think that makes it a massive fight. And it could have been against anyone, but in terms of putting it up there, it is a big fight, but I don't think it's right up there. I don't think we can put it on par with them kind of fights.
Ron, it's a huge fight for me for a number of reasons. Tyson Fury, his problems outside the ring, with mental health issues, depression, the problems with the British Boxing Board of Control, and then Deontay Wilder supposedly not having, high significant tests in his boxing career. Obviously, he's had the one against Luis Ortiz, so it's a big fight for both fighters. Looking at this fight, do you think it's come too soon for Tyson Fury, or would you say that he's done enough to go ahead with this fight and take the risk that he's taken in fighting Deontay Wilder, especially as he's only just got back into the ring?
I mean, two fights after being out for 3 years, 2.5 years, and fights against lower level oppositions. I mean, Seferi, a blown up cruiserweight who was kind of roped into for a comeback fight, and Pianeta, where he got 10 rounds under his belt. Even at that point, I would be very sceptical, of putting him in the ring with Joshua or Wilder. I mean, Frank Warren had a 5-fight plan to get him up to that thing. I think it is a little bit naive to think that, Tyson Fury is just going to take to it very easily, but it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to live up to such a high level opposition, considering he did it 3 years ago.
As if you were in the Tyson Fury camp, if you were Frank Warren, what would the original plan have been for Tyson Fury when he announced his comeback? How many fights would you have given him for you to think, right, you've had a few fights now, it's time to go after the Joshuas, the Wilders? What would your original thinking have been behind the comeback for Tyson Fury?
I think, but I mean, ideally, a few more fights, but how do you make that step up from who he's fought and then challenge for a world title? I mean, what could he have done? I mean, every fight is potentially a risk for him. I mean, he could have fought someone like a Dillian Whyte or Tony Bellew at the time, but if he lost that fight, then what? He's back. He's then right at the bottom of the pile. So it is a massive risk fighting Deontay Wilder. But in my opinion, I think Deontay Wilder is tailor made for him. I think if you could pick a fighter that Tyson Fury can make look stupid, silly, it is Deontay Wilder. So I think maybe it's maybe 1 or 2 fights a bit too soon, but again, I can see the thinking behind it. I think the timing is as good as it's ever going to be, because who's to say if this fight didn't happen, then Deontay Wilder went and fought Joshua and Joshua beats him, and then the only way back for Tyson Fury to win a title is through Anthony Joshua. And to be honest, I can't see that fight happening for a few years at least, because of the fact that he's with Frank Warren and because of the fact that Joshua's with Eddie Hearn. So I think they had to take the fight. It's a big risk, but I can see him doing it, so it'll be a risk that pays off. Judging
by what you've seen against the fights against Seferi and Pianeta, the weight losses, and all the, the clashes at the press conferences in London and America, where do you think Tyson Fury is mentally going into this fight? And do you think, when it comes to mind games, do you think Tyson Fury's already got one up on Deontay Wilder?
Mind games, I think no one can touch Tyson Fury. I think he's the thing about Fury is he's just natural. Everything he does, you can see it's not it's not pre-thought. It's just what you see is what you get with Tyson Fury. So I don't think anyone can touch him when it comes to mind games. I think the thing for me about Tyson Fury, his biggest battle, his biggest fight was outside of the ring. I think it was falling back in love with boxing. I think it was overcoming that battle he had with depression and everything he went through. So for me to see that he's won that battle, he's already kind of, in my eyes, he's already become what I'd ever want to see in a world champion. So regardless of what happens in his career, the battle he's won already to be back, challenging for a world title, to me that's bigger than anything. So regardless of what happens next week, he's already a winner in my eyes. So like I said, I think winning that battle, losing the weight, falling back in love with the sport, I can only see great things happening for him now. So hopefully come Saturday night and new.
Win, lose or draw, is Tyson Fury already a winner in your eyes because of what he's been through, because of the fact that he's got back in the ring, lost all that weight, come through mental health, depression, and then obviously taking on a massive risk in Deontay Wilder, which a lot of fighters have been reluctant to do over the last few years because of Deontay Wilder's, his power and his punches. Do you think Tyson Fury has already proven to a lot of people that he is the man in this heavyweight division, or has he got to win that world title next Saturday?
He's got to win that world title. There's no doubt about it. I don't think Tyson. I mean, what would have been all for? He's battled through kind of depression, suicide. Obviously he blew up to 400 pounds. He wants to see that top that mountain, like he did when he beat Klitschko. But he wants to reign all the belts. That includes what Joshua has.
Would you say this is Deontay Wilder's biggest test in his career so far?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, obviously that Luis Ortiz fight which was a barn fest in itself. In terms of level of opposition, Wilder's been criticised quite heavily. He's fighting people with too many losses, and later on in his career he should have been fighting better level oppositions. But this will definitely be a big challenge for him.
You mentioned.
I just want to touch on something. I think what you said about if he has to win the world title. I think every boxing champion, every fighter has a story that people want to try and relate to, and I don't think there's many fighters out there that people can relate to like Tyson Fury. I mean, he went from having nothing to it all, and then from having it all to nothing, and now he's overcome that, and he's making his comeback, and he's challenging for a world title. In my eyes, if he loses on Saturday and retires, it just goes to show, no matter how low you are, or no matter what you've got, you can still overcome everything. So
100%.
So it's a massive message that people can relate to. You can all relate to a story like Anthony Joshua going to prison or whatever, but a story like that where you come from nothing, you against all the odds you win world champion. You win it all. You beat the man that no one can beat in his back garden, as he said, Tyson Fury.
And a great champion as well in
and then to have all of that, and then to lose it, to be get depressed and think about taking your life, and that people can relate to that, but to see him overcome that and now be in a position where he can now be the man again, it's so satisfying to see. So
100% totally agree with you. It's a great thing to see Tyson Fury come back into sport after everything he went through, and we wish him the best, and it would be the fairy tale ending. It would be the greatest way to end the story by winning that world title. But he mentioned the word criticise. Deontay Wilder does get criticised a lot. Looking at him as the world champion, what have you made of Deontay Wilder so far in his career? What do you think of Wilder as a fighter?
The first time I heard about Deontay Wilder was when David Hay brought him into his camp, and you saw video footage of Hay kind of schooling him a bit. Other than that, you look at his opponents and that, and his last opponent, Ortiz, was arguably his biggest test. And we're talking about an Ortiz who's God knows how old he is. People say he's 40, some people say he's 50. I look at Ortiz, and I remember when he fought David Allen, and I didn't really think anything special of him. He's a typical Cuban fighter, and I expected a world champion to go and breeze straight through Ortiz. And Ortiz gave him some serious problems. And if you look at that fight, if it wasn't for the fact that the referee decided to give Deontay Wilder an extra 30-second break after that round where he got rocked, I think Ortiz would have stopped him. And I think the fact that a fighter like Ortiz, whose brain, whose ring smart, gave him that much trouble, I think Tyson Fury took huge amount of confidence from that, because Fury is a brain boxer. He's a smart boxer, and he's had how many fights, he's knocked out how many people, but name me 5 of them. Name.
Do you know what I think? Do you know when we watched that fight together when he fought Ortiz? He struggled against Ortiz because Ortiz moved a lot, but then Ortiz stopped moving. If Tyson Fury does what he does in Dusseldorf, where he moves, he uses the ring, against Wilder, do you think that's what would help Fury win the fight, or do you think Wilder's got the game plan because he knows Fury likes to move a lot?
I think Wilder only has one game plan, and that's to go out there and throw as many haymakers as he can and hopes one of them catches him. Fury went over to Germany and fought the man that people will say will go down as one of the greats, as being ring smart, his boxing IQ, and he made him look really, really silly. And I think Wilder is just tailor-made for Fury. I can see him dancing around him all night and winning quite comfortably, if I'm being honest. The only danger for Fury is hoping one of those big haymakers doesn't connect. But I can't see anything but quite a comfortable points victory, if I'm being honest.
Your comments to that?
I've got to disagree with that. Wilder has, kind of knocked out every single opponent, and these are not,
But as you just mentioned, Ortiz is only like the high caliber of the opponent that he's fought. Fury is a former world champion, and he did toy with Vladimir Klitschko.
I mean, like Tyson Fury said it himself. It only takes his one punch in the heavyweight division. That's it, and Wilder packs that punch. He's fearsome. He's knocked out every single opponent. Let's just put that into perspective. Luis Ortiz, solid of a fighter, and he dropped him. And Luis Ortiz struggled to get up on his feet in that first knockdown. And the third round, I was amazed that he even, when you get hit by Wilder, you remain hit. And he's awkward. It's just that kind of, he's got that ridiculous... The windmill, regardless of what you call it. When it lands, it's vicious, and it comes from all sorts of angles. And how do you train for something like that? I mean, yes, I agree that Fury's got to use that movement, that lateral movement, that elusive featherweight movement, to evade those punches. But 12 rounds, that's a long time, to be moving away. But this is a younger fighter. I mean, he did it against Klitschko. Klitschko was 40 odd. This is a 32-year-old, and he's
a lot of people can say Klitschko was 40 odd, but when you look at him and he fought Anthony Joshua, he put Anthony Joshua down, whereas he could not land a single punch on Tyson Fury.
I think styles make fights though, and I think Joshua, I would say, in my opinion, Wilder has a bigger chance of knocking out Joshua than Fury, because if you stand still against people like Joshua, stand still against people like Wilder, you're a sitting target, and if you're throwing hundreds of punches, one of them's going to connect. And what you can say about Wilder, he has that knockout power, and if one of them does connect, you're probably going to go to sleep. But Fury doesn't stand still.
We mentioned Anthony Joshua. We've also mentioned Luis Ortiz. Then you look at Dillian Whyte, Kubrat Pulev. Then you've also got Alexander Usyk, who could be hopefully who is looking like he's going to step up to the heavyweight division. How exciting is it for what could potentially await for the winner of this fight? Because we all know Anthony Joshua is going to be defending his title on April the 13th at Wembley against probably the winner of Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora. But as a boxing fan, does it not make perfect sense for the winner of next Saturday's fight to fight Anthony Joshua April next year?
Yeah, of course it does, but you got to remember, boxing is unfortunately all about politics. And if Fury was to win, then can you see Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren sitting in a room and ironing out a deal? Can you see BT Sports and Sky Sports sitting in a room and ironing out a deal? I can't. So I can't see that fight happening anytime soon. If Wilder wins, then yeah, potentially next year. Maybe the April date would probably appeal to both of them, but I can't see the Fury fight and Joshua fight happening for some time.
Let's just stay on that the AJ topic. At the press conference in London between Wilder and Fury, Shirley Finkel turned around and said, "The champion from your country did not want to fight us." Eddie Hearn says the total opposite. Now, We all watch interviews, we all read boxing forums online, you know, we all watch Sky Sports News. Looking at that whole situation with Eddie Hearn, Al Heyman, Shirley Finkel, Wilder, Joshua supposedly not having the funds, why do you think that fight's not happened? Because, you know, and again, no disrespect to Tyson Fury, everyone knows I'm his biggest fan, but why do you think that fight has not happened? And should it be Anthony Joshua fighting Deontay Wilder next Saturday?
Listen, I think they're both, all fighters they want to fight, and I do believe that Joshua wants to fight Wilder, and I do believe Wilder wants to fight Joshua. But again, like I said, when it's politics involved, these things don't always pan out the way they're meant to be. So I just think it's obviously the management behind it. I think, listen, we all know Eddie Hearn is probably one of the smartest businessmen out there, and the fact that they didn't take the fight, but the fact that Fury and Wilder are now fighting each other, does it make potentially a Wilder and Joshua fight any lesser? It makes it bigger. So no matter what happens, there's only one winner in this, and that's Joshua. Joshua will fight the winner eventually, and that fight's not going to be any less than it would have been if they fought this Saturday or in April. It's going to be a massive fight. It's going to be a bigger fight, and when it's a bigger fight, there's more money involved, and when there's more money involved, people get richer. So, the public
sells tickets,
exactly, and the public sit here thinking, oh, we want this fight now, we want this fight now. But do the managers, do the people like Eddie Hearn, do they really care about what the public want, or do they care more about how much money they're going to make? And I think I know the answers now, and I think it's all about money for them. So, just to answer that, yeah, I think the fighters definitely do want the fight, but the management dictates. The management says, let's wait a little while. When
Deontay Wilder beat Arthur Spielka, I think is that towards the end of 2015, Tyson Fury was there and he jumped in the ring after beating Vladimir Klitschko, and he openly admitted he wants to fight Deontay Wilder, calling him a bum, and Wilder said, I'll baptise you when I get in. Would you expect Anthony Joshua to be ringside there on Saturday night?
Well, he said he's not going to be there, is he? And I find that quite surprising. Why wouldn't you? This is it. This is the heavyweight. It would set the scene quite nicely. If Wilder was to win that fight, April 13th, you're going to sell that date. I mean, that would have been a perfect opportunity, but I don't think he wants to get involved in that at the moment, for whatever reason. I'm a little bit disappointed that he's not open. He doesn't seem open to the idea of fighting the US. Would love to see Joshua, lighting up the lights in Vegas. But we'll see. We'll see if he does turn up. That'll be great. Gives us something else. But there's a lot of other heavyweight names that you've mentioned earlier.
100%.
So, yeah.
Well, when just on that, when years ago, the likes of Ricky Hatton, Prince Nassim Hamid, it'd always be the case that they'd have to go across the pond and take these big fights. They'd have to smash America and everything. So it's quite refreshing to see someone like Joshua say, I don't need to go there, you need to come here. So I like that attitude, I like that mentality. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when the fight was announced, you had Wilder jump in the ring after the Fury Pianeta fight and admit that the fight is going ahead. It was interesting when Wilder because Wilder was commentating when AJ fought Klitschko, and he was obviously world champion at the time, but Wilder didn't get in the ring and say he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. I mean, it would have been nice to see. It would have spiced things up even more. It looked more likely then that fight would happen than it will now. Obviously, that's a story for a different day. I just want to talk about tactics. Ring corner. Tyson Fury is going to have, not only is he going to have Ben Davison, who's his trainer, he's going to have Freddie Roach, who's worked wonders with the likes of Manny Pacquiao, and a former two-time world champion in Ricky Hatton, who's been to America and conquered America. What do you think the game plan is going to be for this fight for Tyson Fury? What do you think them three in this corner would be saying to do in this Wilder fight? Do you think they'll sort of want to repeat Dusseldorf against Klitschko, or do you think it's going to be something different?
I think when you go out and play a sport, you're always given the advice to go out there and enjoy yourself. And it's probably the best thing you can say to someone like Tyson Fury is just go out there and enjoy yourself. Because if Tyson Fury goes out there and enjoys himself and bees himself, is unpredictable, goes out there and doesn't have a game plan as such, I don't think Deontay Wilder's going to touch him. It's good that he's got Freddie Roach and Ricky Hatton in his corner, but I don't really believe it's a case of who's in your corner that wins you the fight. I think Tyson Fury, he's so smart in the ring that he just bamboozles his opponents, and he makes it look so easy. His two comeback fights, people have ridiculed him and said, it was almost like an exhibition fight. That's how he fights. He goes out there and he has fun. He puts his hands behind his back, and you know, when you're a world champion, you don't expect things like that. You expect respect. And
but it's his way of doing things.
It's his way of doing his thing, and his way of doing things has made him the man he is. So I hope to see that Tyson Fury there, not someone that's going to go out there and stick to a game plan. Go out there, have fun, play with Wilder, show him who's boss, and bring that title home.
Ron, your comments on what Asif just said? Go out there and have fun, or go out there and you know, have the A game?
Look, A game all the time. I mean, look, you can have fun. I get that. The 2 fights he's fought, none of them were big punches. Let's be honest. Bianetta is not known as a knockout artist. Neither was Sefer. He wasn't going to trouble him. But Deontay Wilder will trouble him if he lands one of those. So he can't be taking him lightly. He can't be taking that. His boxing kind of pedigree is not as high as his. Obviously Tyson Fury's got the best boxing brain out of all of them. So concentration needs to be 110%. It needs to be switched on, because that's it. Because Wilder comes out at very awkward angles, and he's got that rangy kind of reach as well, and which could trouble any fighter.
I think the thing is with Wilder, even with 1 second left in the fight, he's still a massive threat with that power. It's Tyson Fury's unpredictable.
I mean, how I
would like to see him obviously go out and have fun, but I also want to see him, you know.
What do you reckon? I mean, early on in the fight, I reckon it's going to be Wilder's going to give up.
Me personally, I think it's going to be another Dusseldorf. I don't think it's going to be this exciting fight as I hope it is, but I don't think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think it's going to be like a chess match for Tyson Fury, and I think Deontay Wilder's just going to be swinging and missing, because this is a different caliber of opponent that Wilder's getting in the ring with. Because, and I've always said it, out of all the heavyweights, Tyson Fury's IQ is by far the best.
And then the other thing is, you know, for someone like Deontay Wilder, probably every opponent he's fought, he's been able to kind of get in sparring partners that can mimic the style of an Ortiz or, you know, Stavine or whoever he's fighting. You can't find anyone that comes close to Tyson Fury.
100%.
You can't find anyone that comes close to Deontay Wilder either.
Well, I mean, you can come across big punches though.
No, not the way he punches. The way how Deontay Wilder punches, and the way he fights. It's not something that you could.
Yeah, but Deontay Wilder
mimic. I mean, this is it. This is
technically he's not great, but you know, he's a big puncher, and so is Dillian White, so is Anthony Joshua. You know, so all these heavyweights. Whereas in Tyson Fury is the master of defense and using that ring.
No, he's got great ring craft. He manipulates his opponents the way he wants them to fight, like he did against Klitschko. But I think, you know, I think Wilder's kind of team have probably got a game plan in mind of how they want to approach it. Like I said earlier, I think they're going to be open to the idea. Let's lose the first few rounds. Doesn't matter. We'll catch him. There's going to be points where the concentration might slipping, and they're just going to go for that. You know, and that's it. It could be a body blow. It could be a hit to the temple, and that's it. It could be good night.
If you go out there with that game plan that we're going to lose the early rounds and we're going to catch him at some point, there'll be a point in the fight, 6th, 7th, 8th round, where you think, hang on a second, it's not working. It's not working. I can't catch this guy. Then what do you do? Then you're in trouble. Then you panic, and then that's when Fury just takes over. So, you know, it's all right saying that, you know, Wilder has this, you know, unique style, and you know, he's long reach and he's rangy and he's got this knockout power. But there's gonna come a point in that fight where Wilder looks across the ring and thinks, how the hell do I catch this guy? Because Tyson Fury is so unpredictable. It's unbelievable. I know I've watched nearly all of his fights, and you watch it and you think to yourself, not only do we not know what he's going to do, I don't think he knows what he's going to do, but it's just so natural to him. So I think it is going to be a chess match of a fight. I don't think it's going to be as exciting as people think, hence probably why, you know, the ticket sales ain't great and everything, but I can only see one winner, and I can see it quite a comfortable points victory for Tyson.
I was going to ask your prediction, but you've just given it to me.
Tyson Fury all the way, and you know, he's in my eyes, listen, win, lose or draw, he's already a winner for what he's been through, and for his comeback he's made. He's a champion in my eyes. Ron, give us a prediction for next Saturday night.
It's going to be the bomb squad. The bomb squad's going to detonate. Yeah, he's going to detonate, man. He's going to come good, and he's going to make these American public stand up and be like, actually, we have actually got a genuine heavyweight contender that we can, well, you know, champion, which.
Well, listen, if he doesn't get that recognition from this fight,
it's just ridiculous. Yeah, but yeah, the bomb squad. That's my. I mean, there's two ways. Either he wins some points, that's Tyson Fury or the Bomb Squad just gets that knockout, which way it's going to go?
I'm usually good at predictions, so I'm going to go for a Tyson Fury points decision win.
Good choice.
And I'm strictly going to go by that because of what Asif just said, and because Tyson Fury himself doesn't even know what he's going to do. And I just think it's going to be a repeat of Dusseldorf, and there's going to come a point where it goes into, you know, the later rounds, and Deontay Wilder's going to run out of ideas. But let's remember one thing: Deontay Wilder is a type of fighter with even 1 second to go. And, you know, speaking to John Fury, even Tyson Fury's father, he's admitted that with 1 second left in the fight, Deontay Wilder's still a dangerous man because of that power and because of, you know, that power he's got behind his punch. But again, I'm going to go for a Fury points win, and I really do hope Tyson Fury pulls it off. We're going to be watching it live on BT Sport pay-per-view. You guys can too. I would like to say it's going to be an exciting fight, but we don't know. But I do think it's going to be a chess match. He's gone for a Fury win. He's gone for a Wilder win. I'm going for a Fury win. What do you guys think? Drop a comment in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course comment. Thank you for watching our podcast. He's Asif. He's Ron. I'm FAISAL Khan. Thank you for watching. Lights out.